Now to tonight's special report. After the Royal Commission into Child Sex Abuse, a redress scheme was set up for people to receive compensation and acknowledgement of what they'd been through. It's estimated there are tens of thousands of survivors of abuse, but so far less than 8,000 have applied. Around half of those claims have been paid and another 4,000 offers of compensation have been made. The average payment is $82,000, more than what had been expected. But some people are describing the application process as slow and traumatic. And there's concern that Aboriginal survivors of abuse, particularly those from remote areas, are slipping through the cracks. Erin Park reports from the Kimberley.
David Francis is 58 years old. He's a father of 4 and grandfather of 2. But the memories of his own childhood are still vivid and strong. Like thousands of Aboriginal children, David grew up in church-run missions. At age 6, he arrived at Beagle Bay Mission in the bush north of Broome.
Okay, this photo taken in Beagle Bay in about 69, 70. That's when I arrived there.
He has just a handful of photographs. While David says there were moments of kindness, discipline was strict and contact with his family rare.
I think we all was the same, I think. Just lost and sad, I think, coming in.
And it was during this time that David says he was sexually abused.
Abuse everywhere, yeah. People seen it, some you've seen, or people seen it, something's happened, you know. So some behind closed doors.
He's one of almost 8,000 Australians who have applied to the National Redress Scheme, which started 2 years ago to compensate people abused at institutions such as schools, sports clubs and orphanages. It's a much smaller number of applications than expected. The Royal Commission estimated as many as 60,000 people would be eligible. Senator Dean Smith, who chairs the government committee overseeing the scheme, is concerned Aboriginal people and those in remote areas may be missing out.
One of the focuses for the committee in its second interim report will be what can be done to give greater access, to improve the access to the scheme by Indigenous people.
The Kimberley is way behind the 8 ball at the moment, and it's tragic.
Kimberley Stolen Generation is one of a handful of community groups funded to support people making applications. The team here has helped 30 people apply. 4 have received payments so far. It's challenging work.
So we've ticked those boxes, that's all we need to do, but if you'd like to elaborate.
They come to us with lots of other stresses, not just the trauma of being sexually abused as a child, but this has led to where they are now usually. So it's helping that client, might be housing, it might be financial support, it might be elder abuse situation.
Some Aboriginal elders don't have ID because they were never issued with a birth certificate. Some need a translator to be able to explain the abuse in enough detail. But the organisation is only funded to cover the Broome area.
If they're so concerned about the low number of people that have been coming forward, they should ask themselves why that is. Is the funding appropriate for the program? My response to that is no, it's not.
Labor Senator Pat Dodson says the federal government needs to expand on-the-ground support services.
And that's got to be face-to-face, it's got to be a trusting environment, and it's got to be a welcoming environment, and it's going to have to have people with patience. And it has to be able to navigate on their behalf the complexity of the bureaucracy or what the bureaucracy demands. You can't do that over a phone.
Another reason people are not applying for redress is the stigma that remains around child sexual abuse, particularly in regional areas. While the Royal Commission proved cathartic for many communities, it gained little traction here in the Kimberley, despite the large number of Aboriginal people who were institutionalised.
It was almost a theocratic state that was almost based around religion, you know, the Kimberley for a long period of time. If the numbers are small, that may be one of the reasons, that people build up such loyalties to priests and nuns and lay missionaries and other people that they may not want to criticise them if they were subject to sexual abuse.
David Francis is now waiting for a phone call from Canberra to find out if the public servants will approve his claim.
It's kind of a bit weird, you know, it's like your last chapter of your life being sort of sorted, and you gotta, you know, it's like your final paycheck kind of thing. You don't need to go back and talk about anything anymore with anybody or
Righting historical wrongs was never going to be easy. In some parts of Australia, it's even harder. Erin Park, ABC News, Broome.